I don't want to know. I know he was having trouble. I know there was pills next to his bed for his depression. I know there was a lot of alcohol. And if there was anything else, I don't care and I don't want to know. I was 17 when we started that run, and, sharing the stage with Motley and Rat. Gosh, I forgot about this too. I actually met up with Greg and Dave and Krieger, and I went and brought my bass and we played for an hour or so. I went and sort of auditioned for House of Lords. That's right. And there was a weird transition period between the last White Sister record and going and becoming Tattoo Rodeo. Late 80s wasn't that, it was almost like we were either ignoring that storm coming or we didn't care. Heard It on the Radio, I think, still needs to be a Cheap Trick song. And I feel like Tattoo Rodeo was a little bit of the same way. We just did our thing and it was either going to work or it's not, but we weren't really going to twist it and change it to turn into that. You know what? Do I want to go see Foreigner right now with not one original member in the band? No. We were in the small room working up tunes. Kiss was in the medium room. And this is in Burbank. And Motley Crue was in the big room. It was a Jack Blades tie-in, which got us the Damn Yankees Bad Company tour. They had already been out for a year and they were going out again. I haven't played live since that 2009 White Sister reunion at Firefest, We were at his house in Toluca Lake. But this is like a therapy flashback that you're doing to me right now. Okay. The air metal guru from Warren to Crew. The air metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
Hey, I am honored to welcome Dennis Churchill Dries to the show. Dennis put out 2 underrated albums with the band White Sister in the mid-1980s before forming Tattoo Rodeo, who put out the phenomenal, and I'll show you how phenomenal, the phenomenal Rode Hard, Put Away Wet album in 1991. I like it so much I have that poster hanging in my basement. Put out another album called Skin in 1995. He put out his first solo album in 2015 and has a new solo album called Crazy Is This Life coming out very soon. With that, Dennis Churchill Dries, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to point this out. Most people that I interview are very nice. But Dennis, we just sat and talked. He was asking me about the military, thanked me for my service. Anyway, so I just wanted to point that out, that not everybody does that. I appreciate it. So,
well, we all have a past. Yours is pretty cool, I will say.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you again. And yeah, look, I have those things on the wall back. Look back there.
Yeah, hell yes.
Over there.
And I have the Rode Hard Put Away Wet one, the album flat, but holy shit, I'd love to. That Skin one is awesome. Anyway, tell me about.
What do you want to know?
It's been 10 years since you put out your solo album. How does Crazy Is This Life come about now?
Well, I mean, that was 2015. And that was I call it my therapy project, right? Because I'd lost Rick Chaddock, my music partner of 30 plus years. And I had already started writing some songs and putting them together. And I was hoping Rick and I would do something with them. And, he got sick and we lost him in 2012. And so I kind of went into a hole for a while, and his wife and my wife Denise were telling me, you got to finish those songs you started because there's some good stuff in there. So I started working on those, and I had re-hooked up with Paul Sabu.
Yeah, Paul Sabu.
We reconnected, and he engineered the first Tattoo Rodeo record.
Yes.
And we reconnected, and we did a long distance record there, and I was really proud of that. That's the first time I wrote everything, and did it all by myself. But so that's how I came about.
Okay.
And then a lot of things happened, and it wasn't like I'm not a full-time musician. I was a day job guy at the time and working and just doing music for therapy. And then that was a great therapy album. But, that I didn't know what I wanted to do after that. And I was looking for something to do. And I ran into Stan Cody, who used to play with Kevin Gilbert. And we did a little one-off project called 1206. And we did that. We started that when the pandemic hit. So it took like 4 years for that thing to finally happen.
Yeah.
That was terrible. And that was just a little indie thing that he and I did just because we wanted to do something. No label or anything. We just did it. We, finally finished it. I think that came out in 2022 or 3.
Yeah.
Really proud of that. He was one of those guys, Stan is just, he's just a amazing musician and guy and engineer. And he was one of those guys, like, I was really working double time to keep up with him. He's just so musically amazing that and it was good for me. I stretched out. It was a little prog rocky, a lot of it. That's where his world is. And but a lot of that stuff was there were some chord changes, and there were some music theory things in there that I picked up from him and learned a lot. And then after that, moved up here to Idaho and tried to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I set up a little studio down here in my little lab, I call it.
Mhm.
And taught myself Logic and started working on some new stuff. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was going to do with it.
Yeah.
But the writing, the songs, it's funny. I talked to a friend of mine years ago, and he said, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm working on some stuff. I'm putting some demos together." And he goes, "It still comes to you?" And I go, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, well, like music, still, like, you get melodies and things." And I'm like, "Who doesn't?" Like, what do you like? That's like breathing. It's like you just hear, And I realized then when he told me that, he goes, "No, I don't. I just don't do it anymore. I don't really hear any. I don't hear any songs." And I thought, wow, that's a trip. It's like, I guess it's like being colorblind or having some sort of sense that's not there anymore, or you never had it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would be like. And I
Yeah.
think that would be, for me, be horrible.
Yeah.
But that hit me. That really hit me. But I kept thinking about music, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And most people, I've been hit up by some labels, and, there's a couple of the bigger ones out there, and there's one from Italy. I won't mention their name, but everyone knows who they are. And there's a couple of them out there, and there's a couple in England, but they're not. Every time they talk to Dennis, they just want to know what can we do with these unreleased White Sister and Tattoo Rodeo songs.
Yeah.
That's all they want. That's all they want.
Sure.
So I connected with last year. I connected with Paul Mitch Rudland over at AOR Boulevard Records, and he's been in contact with me over the years, but he hit me up and he said, "Hey, I'm doing the last of a series of albums called Santa Ana Winds. They're some covers tunes redone, modernized." And he goes, "You want to sing on something?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for something to do, sure." So I did 3 songs on that last Santa Ana Winds release of his last year, and I had a blast working for him. His trust in me, his attitude, his non-badgering me for my sister and Tattoo Rodeo stuff,
Right.
and his trust and everything. And I just thought it was great. And he works closely with Steve Newman from the band Newman and Compass.
Yeah.
And Steve and I hit it off as well. So and then Paul said, "Hey, you want to do it? What are you doing? You got any songs? You want to do something?" And then boom, that was last year. That was last, I don't know, March or April or something.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, a little over a year later, and albums in the can. Mastering just got done. Harry Hess from Harem Scarum did the mastering. Sounds
Yeah.
great. Sounds great. He's like a major go-to mastering guy now.
Really?
Yeah. So that sounds really good. The artwork just got finished, and I'm really excited about that. Steve Newman worked on the artwork and did the graphics and stuff, and he's a talented dude, and really happy with it. I'm really excited about it. The album, I just wrote a bunch of songs. I didn't have an agenda. I didn't have
Right.
these have to be 80s tunes. This has to be, oh my gosh, are the fans of White Sister or Tattoo Rodeo going to like it? If somebody liked I'm like, I didn't really, I just went, I'm just going to write. I'm just going to write. So I wrote some songs and put them down. And it's funny because it's the same way with Tattoo Rodeo and White Sister. Actually, like I never wrote 20 songs to get 10.
Yeah.
I always just started writing, and if I liked the chorus or the melody and it was going somewhere, I'd finish the song.
Sure.
Otherwise, start over. I don't have a pile of songs that were not on an album.
Right.
Really. There's a couple of Tattoo Rodeo songs that maybe should be out there. A couple, and
Sure.
probably a couple. There are probably 2 or 3 White Sister songs, but they were never recorded.
Yeah. Okay.
So and that's how this new one came.
When's it going to come out, do you think? Or do you know?
We are hoping for, I just talked to Paul yesterday. We're hoping for late November release.
Okay.
A lot of it's contingent on, artwork getting done, printed, the printers and the CDs
Sure.
being made and all that, because it is coming out on CDs.
Sure.
People still have CDs.
Oh, shit.
You got a wall of CDs over there,
Yeah.
probably.
Well, this is all that I bought over the last whatever few months, probably. So
Yeah.
I'm still a physical product, and and I've heard a snippet of the single "Bring Back Yesterday." So
Yeah.
I'm not just saying like it sounds like I'm pumped about the album. So
Thank you. I'm really happy with the way the production turned out. It's nice and clean. I think a lot of new stuff that's out right now is a little mechanical. It's a little machine. It's a little brick walled and just
yeah,
kind of like it's all. I don't know. I'm not bagging on anybody's work. I'm just saying that a lot of the stuff that I like it to breathe a little and be a little more. I
yep,
like to hear everything. I like, if the kick pedal's squeaking, I want to hear it.
yeah,
So I think the album is nice and clean but punchy, and I'm really really happy about that. And
okay.
there's some, Bring Back Yesterday is, I mean, it is literally about growing up in
Yeah,
the Hollywood music scene back in the day with,
totally.
I was 17 when we
Oh,
started that run, and sharing the stage with Motley and Rat and Dubrow and all these guys and Great
let's
White and whoever else, Tesla before they were named Tesla. What were they called? City Kid or something?
City Kid.
Yeah, I
Let's
think it was City.
let's go back into so how do you like how does this rock and roll journey start? Like when do you when at a point are you like, you know what, this music thing is gonna be for me?
Well, I mean, middle school, my when I was probably 14 or 15, my uncle Ron Camacho, who is just the most amazing bass player, the best bass player I know. He still is. He's amazing. He was in a band when I was a kid with Isley, with David.
Ah,
David's an old family friend, actually.
okay.
Good guy. I used to run into him on, one of the things I miss about moving away from the LA area is I miss running into people. I used to run into David at the Harley dealer, or run into him over there, or the, sandwich shop or something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, David was in a band with my uncle many moons ago, and then I just got into. I was exposed to music like that, at a live music at an early age, and I thought, well, this is kind of fun. And I used to sit there with his bass, up against remember those old stereos with the record player
Oh,
lid, and you'd open
yeah,
it up, and it had big speakers, and
yeah,
it didn't matter how old it was; they always sounded amazing, right?
yeah,
And he used to sit me down right in front of it, and I'd lean back on it, and I'd just play along to, as on one string, I'd
yeah.
play along to, the Beatles or Hendrix or something.
Mhm.
But so I started playing right around 15, I guess, and then, as soon as I figured out that girls dug it, it was over, right? I mean, come on,
It always comes back to that.
man. So
Always does.
yeah, and I just fell in love with that music, and just started listening to, as I got a little older, I started being influenced by, Journey, Bad Company, Zeppelin, Aerosmith. I mean,
I wore this
Zeppelin and
because
Aerosmith are always. Oh yeah, that's a great
I
great
wore
album,
that
right?
because I knew you were a Journey fan anyway.
Yeah, it's a little too obvious sometimes, but
Right.
in fact, there's a song on my new album called "Don't Look Back," and might be a little. It might be. I might get a little bit of crap for how journey it is, but
Okay.
whatever. Maybe they should have wrote it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'll just throw that
Um,
out there.
you're closely you always hear about you and Rick Chaddock.
Yeah.
And when did you meet him?
So Rick, I met back. Gosh, I was 15,
Okay.
playing the bass. I ran into him. He was friends with one of the guys I went. He was friends with Gary Brandon, who was
Mhm.
the keyboard player and
Right.
and co-vocalist in White Sister.
Yep.
And Gary, I saw at a football, Friday night football game kind of thing in high school. And Gary said, hey, we're playing in this little garage. You got to come check it out. You bring your bass. I'm like, cool. So I was 15. I got dropped off over there and brought my bass, and there's Rick.
Yeah.
So he was about 3 or 4 years older than me, I think.
Mhm.
And from that first rehearsal, we were friends for 30 plus years till he was gone. Rick took me to my first concert,
Mhm.
which, by the way, was Van Halen.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Right.
he drove because I didn't even have a license yet. So I'm going and watching he kept playing it in his truck, like kept playing Ain't Talking About Love. I'm like, who is this? It's Van Halen. And like the next couple days later, who is this? Dude, it's Van Halen. Like, why can't
Yeah.
you remember this? And Ain't Talking About Love constantly in his truck. And that was the first concert I went to. Talk about jumping in, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, And I listened to a couple interviews that you have online, and you said something about, was he taking lessons from Randy Rhoads?
Oh yeah, Rick. So Rick and I were playing in this little garage deal, and then we moved out of that scenario, and then we got into a little music room with another drummer, and then we got our buddy, the first drummer in White Sister was Gus Martinez, and we started to. Rick was just a huge Randy fan, and he actually as well took me down to the Starwood in Hollywood, and we saw Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
Mind blown, right? I could probably do without a lot of Kevin DuBrow in my face, but and there's other stories with Kevin that go on all the way through Tattoo Rodeo. But Randy being at the Starwood with like too many people crammed in that club, and it was just I can't even explain it. It was somebody just brought it up on Twitter yesterday about they played a little clip of Quiet Riot playing Slick Black Cadillac, and I was like, I was there, I saw it,
Yeah.
and so Rick was just a huge Randy fan.
Yeah.
I mean, well, look at the guitar behind me over there.
Oh yeah.
Which way?
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
That's Rick's. That was made by Carl Sandoval, who made Randy's famous
Okay.
Polka Dot V. So
Okay.
Rick had that made with stars on it instead of polka dots.
Okay.
So I got that. That's my little piece on the wall.
I
Um,
oh, go ahead.
so he was a huge Randy fan. He was taking lessons over at New Sonia in North Hollywood. We were in Burbank. Randy went to school in Burbank. He was a Burbank guy and the family.
Mhm.
And Rick and I were in Burbank. We went to Burbank school, so it was kind of a known musician loop.
Yeah.
And we used to go stand outside the rehearsal room where they were Quiet Riot was rehearsing and listen to them, just stand out in the street, listen to them and going, wow. But he took lessons from Randy, and then I went and took lessons from Rudy right down the hall, like two
Yeah.
studios over,
Yeah.
and that was fun. And then because I'm just a self-taught, just
Sure.
sausage finger, just play.
Right.
And I remember one thing Rudy told me I'll never forget was, and it's not a new thing to say or anything, but he always told me, he goes, just be ready. It was funny because this is right before he went to go play with Ozzy too. He said, just be ready. So when somebody knocks on your door, you're ready.
Yeah.
Like, just be ready. Just have your chops ready and be ready and be mentally ready. So when that knock comes on the door, and it was probably, I don't know, within months, he went with Randy going and playing live shows with Ozzy. It's like, see ya. I guess it was true, right?
I just interviewed Robert Sarzo.
I just watched that.
Oh, and it was funny because I said, well, what was it like when Rudy blew up with Quiet Riot? And he's like, oh, talking about how it was, and he said he remembered telling Kevin DuBrow to try not to get too big ahead. And I said, oh, I don't think Kevin quite listened to that advice, but
Yeah. The Randy and Rick connection continued, and we were playing at the Whiskey, and I wanted. No, it wasn't the night we were signed. It was before that. We were playing at the Whiskey, and Randy came upstairs. Oh, because it was White Sister still. That's right. So
yeah.
Randy comes running up. All of a sudden, we hear a bullhorn, and somebody's yelling their brains out, and it's DuBrow. And he's running around like a court jester, and Randy's behind him with a couple of his people. And Randy came up to say, good show to Rick before the show. And
Yeah.
Kevin was just up there, just it's like, okay, dude, go sit in the corner somewhere. He was always like that. But yeah, big Randy fan. Rick always was, and some of his influences rubbed off on him a little bit. But yeah, it was a big. Burbank had a lot of musicians going on there for a little while. It was a fun thing.
So how does White Sister get started, and how do you guys start developing a name?
We picked the name literally from the Toto song White Sister.
Yep.
I don't really know why, we just did. And we started doing some shows, small little places in Pasadena, a couple of small little places in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And we started getting momentum, and people started showing up, and it was rolling. And then the drummer got a little nervous because it got a little too hot. And so he kind of bailed. And then that's when we got Rich Wright on the drums. And this is probably around 1981 or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in 1980, my parents moved up to Oregon. They moved up to 20 acres in Northern Oregon. I was 17 trying to finish high school, and I didn't want to go. Duh.
Right.
Trying to be a rock star here,
Right.
So I was 17, and I moved in with Rich. our who was the drummer for White Sister
Yep.
moving forward. Him and his dad was my guardian for like 6 months till I turned 18. So I'm living with Rich, but we still had Gus on drums. And then Gus bailed, and I'm like, okay, Rich, now's your shot. Let's go. I drug him to rehearsal, and that was it. So Rich joined, started playing shows, started getting interest. We wanted to do some demos, and Rick and Rich literally ran into Jafria at a gas station.
Okay.
There's another thing that's not going to happen in Idaho, running into people like that at the gas station, right? Um,
So did you
so
have kind of a big name at that point?
at that point, we were doing pretty good. We started to get people, we did the Troubadour a lot, not a lot. We were kind of one of those bands that we didn't want to play every weekend.
Yeah.
We did like maybe once a month or every 6 weeks. We kind of wanted to spread it out and keep it a little fresh. But we
Yep.
were doing the thing, putting the billboards up, putting the posters up on the telephone poles all the way over Barham into Hollywood and doing that whole thing and
Yeah.
running from the cops when they were told us to knock it off and that whole thing. Um, and we had a bit of a following going. So they met Greg. He came by rehearsal, liked the songs. So we went into a little studio and we started recording some demos.
They met. I mean, they met. What do they? Hey, we're in a band. Come listen to us. I mean, how the hell does that
Well,
happen?
I think Gary recognized him from Angel, right? So he
Yeah.
sees this guy
Yeah.
with long hair down to his ass driving a Ferrari.
But I mean, how
Um,
did they convince him that he should come check them
I
out?
don't know. I wasn't there, but
Yeah.
they must have done a great job because he showed up,
Okay.
right? Like he probably thought they were crazy. Um,
And for the
so
record, the longest interview in channel history is Greg Jafria. We actually went 4 hours and 15 minutes, but I cut out an hour
oh
because
geez.
we got deep into his business stuff, and he
Oh
was like,
yeah,
take some of that out, to
yeah.
shorten it. So anyway,
Yeah, so they convinced Greg to show up to rehearsal. He showed up. He liked it. We went and did some demos, and then we went to we liked those a lot, and then we did them real quick, bang bang, and then we went to we started getting time at the original record plant in Hollywood before they moved it.
okay,
Um, we would go in there and we would get a call from the engineer. I think it was Kevin, and he'd go like, "Hey," we'd be rehearsing. We'd get a call. "Hey, uh, Rod Stewart just bailed. Sessions paid for all night. Get down here." So we did that. We did that one. His Ron Wood, a couple other big acts would come in and not feel it and leave.
yeah,
And Kevin and I forget who the other guy was would call us and go, "Get down here." So we'd go up over the hill, and I'm still in high school trying to finish, trying to graduate, right?
yeah,
Go there, record all night. I'll never forget the beer machine in the lobby had the Budweiser long necks for a quarter, right? And we were just like, yeah, this is perfect. So we would record all night, uh, recording demos, and I'd have to get back over the hill, and I had a first period class at like 8 in the morning or something, and I had to pass it to graduate. And my parents were coming down from Oregon. I already made the plans, and they were coming down in a couple months to my graduation, with the gown and out on the field. And I'm like, shit, I got to pass this class. So the teacher I had, I'll never forget him, Brian Hurst, and he knew what I was doing, and he pulled me aside. He was a football coach, and he pulled me aside and he goes, "I know what you're doing. I get it. You show up to my classes, don't fall asleep, and pass the test on Friday. You'll be fine." And I said, "Okay, thank you." And he goes, "And if you can avoid smelling like cigarettes when you get in here, that would be good." Just all night at the record plant with these guys, the engineers are just like on
yeah,
nonstop, right?
sure,
I don't smoke, so I'm like, oh.
yeah,
But I didn't have time to go home and change or shower. I just had to roll into class. So anyway, so we did demos with Greg, and they got some traction, and we finally went into how did that roll? Oh, that rolled into a little deal we got with Enigma.
okay,
Enigma EMI. We did it. We were going to do an EP, so it started out as an EP, and then
okay,
everybody was digging it, so we went in and finished it, and turned it into an album. We couldn't get some of the tapes out because there were some shenanigans going on with the billing and who was getting paid and who wasn't. And I won't get anybody in trouble with that, but that's what was happening. So I happen to have in my storage here in Idaho, I've got a shelf full of tapes, masters
okay,
that I saved from one of the studios we were in. I saved the tapes.
okay,
Probably this is back in like 2010. I got a call. Hey, we're getting rid of these tapes. They're in our warehouse. You want them? You know, give me a couple $100. And I was like, okay. So I drove over there. And we threw them all in my truck, and I've got them. They're 2-inch masters. I'm going to have them baked and digitized or something, but
What are you gonna do with them?
probably digitize them. And I'd love to in the future. I'd love to do a remix and remaster of the second White Sister album. That was just a production extravaganza, 48 track, nightmare. But I would love to. There's some good songs in there that I think with a remix could be kick ass.
I don't get anything from, but I do some stuff with FNA Records, and I'm just they do
Just
that kind
throwing
of
it
thing,
out there.
put out these, so I'm just throwing it out there. So,
Yeah, I've got to find somebody to digitize it, and we'll see what happens. So we did that. And funny, one of the songs, we were in the studio mixing everything, and one of the tunes we had, we couldn't get the masters back, and we really loved the mix, but the vocal was a little low, just a little bit. So Greg goes, just go in the studio and sing it, because I was pretty good at singing my vocal right on top of another one. If we wanted to double something, I was pretty good at sticking right on it.
mhm.
And I go out. So he goes, okay. He goes, after dinner, we're gonna go out. We're gonna do that. And I go, okay. He goes, my buddy's coming over. He's really good at this. I go, okay, great. So walking in the doors is Andy Johns.
Oh,
So we're all just like, woo,
yeah.
Andy Johns. Okay, so I'm just like letting my heart rate go down a little bit.
Who's worked with every huge band ever.
Yeah, and I'm out there like going to redo a vocal in front of Andy Johns. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I went out there. They rolled the tape, transferred. There was a 1/2-inch master we had of the mix that was good except for a low vocal. They had another 1/2-inch machine right next to it, ready to rock, and I just flew in a live vocal right on it. So if you listen to the song "Don't Say That You're Mine" off the first White Sister record, you'll notice that vocal is a doubled vocal. You can kind of hear it.
Yeah.
And at the very end of the song, I said, "Don't Say That You're Mine" one last time at the very tail of the song, and it's not doubled because we forgot.
Okay.
We were probably too many quarter beers, whatever.
Right.
But anyway, that's an interesting story about that record. So that's how that record happened. EMI picked it up, and I have a cassette somewhere. I got to find it. I have a cassette of EMI's promotional. This is in '84.
Yeah.
Used to do the promotional cassettes, and we're on there with David Bowie and Blue Jeans.
Okay.
And this new band called the Red Hot Chili Peppers is on there. And it's like,
wow.
I got to find that cassette. I got it somewhere.
So EMI is paying for demos. They hear the demos and they say, you know what? Yes, we're going to move forward and we're going to do the record. Is that?
Well, the demos were self-financed.
Okay.
The EP was being financed by Enigma, and then Enigma EMI went in on, let's do a whole album, and that's how that happened.
Okay. And I wanted to, like, you talked about your parents, like you're living with Rich, you're trying to graduate. Like, were your parents, like, were they like disappointed? Did you have a good relationship with them? I mean,
oh, I have a great relationship. They're still around. They're 82. They're kicking ass, doing their thing. They were supportive, very supportive of what I wanted to do. I mean, they let me stay down there when I was 17.
Yeah.
So they've always been very supportive of me. My dad, Brian Dries, is he's a workaholic dude. He's a former Marine.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
There you go. You should know what that means.
Well, so, bless his heart for.
So I didn't get away with a lot.
yeah, I'm sure you didn't.
You know what I mean? So no, they were supportive, and this is all happening, and we're doing photo sessions, and there's a picture of us. It's a big it was made into a poster of White Sister, and we're standing on this pedestrian bridge at the Bonaventure Hotel, and I think I've got my bases upside down, and I'm leaning on it, and we're all lined up, like rock star mode. Mm-hmm. And we just thought we had made it because the photographer was John Scarpati, who just did the Steve Perry album cover shoot.
Okay.
So we thought, oh, well, we got the same guy that did Perry stuff. We're in. That's the same photographer. This is like that's going to make a difference, right?
Right.
But that's the night we shot that. I knew of my wife. I knew who she was. She was friends with the drummer's girlfriend, Denise, my wife Denise. But that night we kind of connected for the first time, and that was when so that poster has got like an extra special meaning. There's somewhere by the Bonaventure, there was a Carl's Jr. that served beer, which is really weird in LA, right?
Right.
And we got some beer, And we were like, there was these slight glass doors to Carl's Jr. And right outside the glass doors was the pedestrian bridge where we were doing the photo shoot, but we
Mhm.
couldn't take the beers out past. So we had a table in the corner. We're like at midnight in Hollywood in a Carl's Jr. at the hotel. We commandeered the whole corner booth. We got pitchers of beer. And I remember I took a little umbrella and went to stick it in Denise's hair, and she had so much hairspray in her hair, it wouldn't go in her hair. And she still brings that up to this day. And the fact that I just told you that, she's going to probably smack me when she sees this.
I'm gonna clip that out and make it its own separate video. Yeah.
Loop it. Loop it.
You went with two singers, you and Gary, keyboard
Mhm.
player. What I mean was that just, hey, both of us got great voices, or how, not a lot of bands were doing that. I guess, I mean, there were some, but
Yeah, we kind of like we like the Night Ranger approach and
yeah.
the Beatles, the Eagles, Toto,
Okay, I guess there's a shitload
Sticks.
then. Forget what I was
Stick.
saying then.
Well, in our melodic rock world, Toto and
Yeah.
Styx and Journey even,
Yep.
there was bands doing it, and we just thought, hey, let's do that. That's kind of fun. And we always thought, hey, if somebody doesn't like one of the songs, they'll like another one with a different voice on it. We'll give ourselves a better shot.
Right.
That was kind of the mentality behind that.
How did the songwriting work with you guys?
We pretty much Gary and Rick and I pretty much wrote everything, and Rich was there and he was like, Rich, play this.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I wrote a lot of the drum stuff that we did back then. But yeah, we would all just come in the room and somebody would have an idea and we just bang it out. And usually like an hour later, it was the old days when you had a little blaster and you just put a tape in and
Sure.
you record the whole room and let it overload, but you could hear what was going on.
Okay.
And we just would write and then, yeah, we like that. Sounds good. Let's keep working on that. Let's not, whatever.
Um, when you finish with the album, are you satisfied when you hear the debut album? Like, because it goes through mixing and all that, and then shit gets added. Like, were you like, yes, this is what I heard in my head?
Well, some of it, yes. That album in itself, just somebody, there was a critic that made a comment that always stuck in my head because I think it's actually valid. And they said some of the songs sound like they put a sock over the microphones
Okay.
on the drums or something. And I was like, that's hilarious. But yeah, I kind of get it. There were so many movements recording that. So we went from an EP to finishing the album in a different studio to mixing it at yet another studio to going in and having, I think, two or three of the songs were mixed by Michael Wagner.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So Michael Wagner's mixes come out and they're blasting and blazing. But oddly, the cymbals are low, and I don't know. There was some weird things going on.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say we were. I mean, we were thrilled because we were, young, and I think
Yeah.
I remember I turned 20. I turned 21 when we were mixing that thing.
Okay.
So we were all pretty young and like, yeah, this is great. That one might sound a little weird. Who cares? Nobody cares.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Right.
40 years later, we care
Right.
for however long that was. Yeah.
So that album comes out in '84. Like,
Yeah.
what did you do for touring for that?
We didn't do anything. We did album came out. We got an offer to do one of our songs actually for the next album was going to be in the movie Killer Party.
April?
And yeah, April. So we went in and did April, and then we went to Toronto and we did that video for the video within the movie
Yeah.
of April.
Yep.
There's a little, we have a little music video sort of within the movie.
Yep.
And shortly after we did that, Gary decided to move on with his life and go onward. So he left, and the album, we weren't doing anything. We weren't touring. We just did some shows, weren't getting any traction. It seemed to be taking off in England, but we couldn't really get over there.
Did
There was no support. There was like no support. There was no
Okay.
album support. No, to answer your question, there was
Okay,
nothing. Yeah.
Good.
So we went in and did a second record at the studio where we finished the first one. He gave us.
I'm sorry. Was there any issue with Gary, or was it just this isn't my thing anymore?
Gary, he just wasn't his thing. He wanted to go and do something different. He wanted to go and be, more of a. He wanted to go and do more of his own thing.
Okay.
So he went on and just wanted to be his own guy. So he took off. So we went in the studio and recorded this. Rick and I wrote songs and we recorded the second album, Fashion by Passion. We recorded that one, I think in '86.
But that wasn't on EMI, correct?
No, that ended up being on FM Revolver.
So what? I mean, how did I mean, EMI didn't do anything for you. I guess you probably weren't all that bummed that you got dropped. Is that
Well, yeah, that, and the fact that, here we are, how many years later, and that first album's been re-released a few times by a couple of different labels. Never saw a penny still.
right?
Um, and the second album we did was released by FM Revolver,
Yep.
and I'm working behind the scenes trying to get the digital rights to that, which is becoming a giant pain in the ass. But
Okay.
don't want to talk about it too much here.
Sure.
But that album came out, and then we got a keyboard player to go tour with us, and we went to England for 3 or 4 weeks and opened for the band FM
Yeah. Yep.
over there, and that was a blast because that was our first real experience getting some touring in and some playing. We had never really done it before, but we had a great time. Met some great people over there, and then came home and nothing. Couldn't get arrested at home, right?
Did you like being the sole vocalist, or were you? I
Oh, I
mean,
did. I was fine with that. I mean,
yeah,
in a live setting, I was pretty comfortable having splitting vocals because you're not killing yourself,
right.
But it was definitely an education for us, and because we were opening for FM, we were doing, I think, 30-minute sets. It wasn't that long. We got home and just started writing again. Didn't know what we wanted to do, and we decided to, the keyboard player went on his way, so Rick and I, we hooked up with. I don't even remember how we met him, but we met Michael Lord, and he became the keyboard player with us, and we transitioned into Tattoo Rodeo.
Okay.
So we had gone in the studio and done some demos, and I don't remember how or why, but we reconnected with Jafria. We were at his house in Toluca Lake. But this is like a therapy flashback that you're doing to me right now.
Okay.
We went to Greg's house, Greg and April's house, set up in the back, and we're recording demos on a little 4-track.
Is this for what you think is going to be White Sister, or is this?
Yeah, we weren't sure we were thinking it was still White Sister, but we weren't sure. We
Okay.
decided to change it into Tattoo Rodeo. He got us into a studio in Toluca Lake, an up and coming studio called TMF, and we went in there with Greg, and that's where we met Sabu. So we went in there with Greg to record some songs. Went in there with Sabu, did some demos, and there's some Tattoo Rodeo bootlegs flying around of First Times Forever is one of the songs, and Restless Heart.
Okay.
And there's another one, I forget what it is, but they were recorded there. And then Greg left the picture. He got really busy and got pulled into his Jafria stuff.
I think he was starting House of Lords at that point.
Yeah, you're right. He was starting. Yes, because that would have been around 90 or so, 89, 90. Yeah, so he was starting House of Lords and getting super busy. And there was a weird transition period between the last White Sister record and going and becoming Tattoo Rodeo. We didn't know what we wanted to do. And I actually, gosh, I forgot about this too. I actually met up with Greg and Dave and Krieger, and I went and brought my bass and we played for an hour or so. I went and sort of auditioned for House of Lords. That's right. It was for the second record. It was after the first record.
Okay.
But I remember Goldie was there at rehearsal, and then he was gone after that for the second record.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a time, no recording of it, of me in there singing with Dave and playing Jafria stuff.
Wow.
Wow, I forgot about that. That's kind of cool. You're triggering my memory, man. This is good stuff.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So what? Well, first this. I think I heard you say that there was a lot of drug use going on in the Fashion by Passion album, the second White Sister. But I think you said it wasn't you and Rick. Am I accurate, or maybe I'm way off? Maybe I'm
there was I would call it typical pharmaceutical enhancements for, people working on the record. Rick and I were pretty much like ridiculously squeaky clean.
Okay.
I'll tell you a quick story. One of the engineer techs came in. It's probably 2 a.m. Rick and I found a box of a cup of noodles, and then we were hungry, so we're making a cup of noodles. And this guy comes out of the hallway, and he's like just cheesed, right? He's been doing coke for like hours, and he's looking at us, and he goes, "Dude, do you know how much sodium is in that?" I was like, we just looked at each other like, seriously? I think we'll be okay, man. We'll be all right. little sodium.
Um, okay.
Anyway, it was a cute little story for the studio. But yeah, I mean, it was, and we did that record with Joel Goldsmith,
Yeah.
who was a TV and film scoring guy,
Yeah.
who Rick eventually went to work for, actually, and that's where Rick learned about Pro Tools and editing, and he worked on all kinds of stuff. And Joel pulled me in on a couple of songs he was working on for movies, and that's why I have a vocal on the Crystal Heart soundtrack for Crossing Over.
Okay. Okay.
Crossing Over and Castles in the Sand. I did those two songs for rent money for Joel.
Yeah.
We'd go in and do a White Sister session. He'd go sing this song real quick. And it'd be like 40 minutes. I'm like, dude. And he said, just throw a vocal on it, and I got money from the production company. And I was like, good, I could pay my rent this month,
You guys ended up on like the Fright Night soundtrack,
Yeah,
right?
that's the Save Me Tonight ended up on the Fright Night soundtrack. Yeah. And we had, in fact, I just got, where is it? Right here. Somebody just got me this. I don't know if you can see my Fright Night poster.
Oh, badass.
Look at that. Yeah. Fright Night, we had a song in Halloween 5.
Okay.
Our old manager was getting us spots to finance demos.
Sure.
We were all working day jobs and trying to figure out how to pay for the studio and do all that. But we did those songs, like I did those songs for that movie Crystal Heart and with Joel. And later on, after that, many years after that album, Rick was working with Joel. Joel was doing the he was doing the scoring for a TV show called Martial Law,
Okay.
which had an episode with you. Do you know where I'm going with this? You had an episode with Bret Michaels as the bad guy.
Oh shit.
You
Okay.
remember this?
I think I remember hearing about this,
Yeah.
but it's vague.
So Joel calls me up and goes, "Come down here and sing some vocals. Bret's down here." And I go, "Okay, cool." So I go over there and I sang a lead vocal on one bar fight song, and then I sang backup. Brett had a song on the soundtrack for that show, and I sang backup vocals on his track.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, that's a little Poison. That's my little mini Poison connection.
There you go.
Years later, my other Poison connection was somewhere in the mid 2000s. I jumped up and did a show with some friends of mine, and Ricky Rocket sat in on we did a Zeppelin song or something, but I think I have a picture of that somewhere.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm on way off track, but that's no Poison connection.
So speaking of Poison, like the first White Sister album comes out 84, the second one comes out 86. 86 to 88 is a dramatic change, for what's going on in rock, the image, especially the sound. Like were you guys aware of that? And were there any conversations about like, hey, are we gonna fit into this? Or were you like, hey, we don't worry about that, we do our own thing?
It was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of we just do our own thing, and it was a lot of that was, until Tattoo Rodeo was in recording and getting ready to release in beginning of 91, I think is when that came out.
91. Yeah.
That's when we started noticing the big change.
Yeah.
So late 80s wasn't that. It was almost like we were either ignoring that storm
Sure.
coming or we didn't care. But by the time the first Tattoo Rodeo record came out, we definitely saw it and went, oh wow, this album might be a couple years late, getting anywhere. I mean, I remember being at the Atlantic office in LA and Hollywood. We were at the Atlantic building for some press, and the bass player from Badlands, Greg
Jason.
Yes, he was there, up and down the halls ranting about, where's the promotion? Where's the support? Where's the money? And he was pissed off. And then we flew to New York, to Atlantic in New York, and we were dealing with, I was talking to Stevie about this, dealing with Atlantic and Jason Flom and some of the same stuff as 91, right?
Yep.
And Foreigner just come out with Johnny Edwards on vocals.
Yep.
And Jason Flom took us into his office and he goes, listen to this. And he plays the single. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, I dug it. I still do.
The Foreigner single.
The Foreigner single.
Yep.
With Johnny Edwards. And I'm like, wow. I was blown away. And then we decided we were there for press. We did that for a couple of days. And then they had their big meeting in the conference room with, Erdogan and all these people. And our manager goes, "Hey, you want to run in there and, you want to do a song acoustically?" And we're like, "In the conference room? Sure." We didn't care. We were like, late 20s. Like, I don't give a shit. And we were talking to Paul Rogers was there with Kenny Jones because they just did that Law album.
Yeah, the Law.
That one off.
Yep.
And so we were in this little like waiting area lobby, and I, just totally Star Trek getting to meet and talk to Paul for a couple of minutes. And I go, "Okay, I got to go." And he goes, and we saw our guitars, and Paul goes, "What are you doing?" We're going to go in there and play a couple songs. And he goes, "You're going to play a couple songs in there?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Better man than me, mate." And I'm like, "What? I don't get it." He knew that was a, if that's no good, you're done.
Yeah.
If you guys suck in there, it's over. But
Right.
I don't know if we didn't know or we didn't care, maybe both, but we just went in there and did it. And I mean, it was fine, but that was kind of a funny moment.
Was the change from White Sister to Tattoo Rodeo, was it because you knew you were going to change the sound a lot? Because obviously Tattoo Rodeo
Yeah.
sounds a lot different than White Sister. Was that?
Yeah. When we were doing the demos and writing, and the Restless Heart song kind of came out sounding like White Sister. First Times Forever a little bit, and it had some different angles to it. And we did a third song. I think it was Everybody Wants What She's Got, which it was on the first record. It was called something. It was called She's Got a Simple Way. It sounded like a John Waite song before. Another one of my heroes. But the songs were transitioning into a little bit of a less strings and less pomp, and they were just getting a little grittier and had a little twang to them.
Yeah.
And we were looking for a name, and Rick actually, we were at a show at the Whiskey, and I don't remember who was playing, but we were upstairs, and Rick was looking down at everybody, the sea of bodies down there, at everybody was tatted up, and he goes, "Look, it looks like a tattoo rodeo down there." And it was like, "That's it, we got it," which was hilarious because none of us had a tattoo.
I'll be honest, that's one of the better band names that came out of that scene.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was funny because we didn't, up until a year or two into it, none of us had a tattoo. But so yeah, that was the name change coincided with the styles changing and us morphing into a different sound, for that.
Okay, so you got kind of a new sound, you got a new band name. Like, do you go out and play a bunch of shows? Like, what leads Atlantic to sign you? I mean,
we were playing shows.
Because it must have happened pretty quick.
We were playing a lot of shows. We were playing a lot, and we did some private shows for a couple of labels. Atlantic showed some interest, and then we had booked a show at the Whiskey to open for Vixen, and Atlantic said they were coming, so we're like, cool. And we got there for sound check, and Vixen, I don't know if you've ever been to the Whiskey, but it's really small. The stage is really shallow.
Yep. Been there once.
Yeah. And if you look at any videos, even online, you can see how, like, where the drums end, there's about 4 feet from the drum riser to the stage.
Yeah.
So they decided they weren't going to strike their drums. Vixen said, "No, we're not moving anything." So we're like, we were so pissed off, dude. We were so pissed off. So our road guys took Michael's Hammond B3 Leslie case, and they put it in front of the stage, and it made this perfect height little extension to the stage. That's where my mic stand went. Mm-hmm. And I stood on basically 1 foot on the stage and one on this case. And they like duct taped the shit out of it to the front of the stage.
Right.
And if I turned around a couple of times, I kicked the bass drum mic right out. It was like I was right there.
Right.
But we were so angry with them that they would do that to us. And we just went out there with a little extra, sauce. And that show got us signed.
Okay.
So they picked us up. We did the album. And then we got picked up by, to go tour with Damn Yankees and Bad Company.
Yeah. Can you tell me about making that album? Ron Bloom produced it. Like,
Ron Bloom was the sort of in-house. He was the in-house producer at this little studio in Toluca Lake, TMF Studios, and he was the in-house guy there. And he was producing some bands. And then when we had gone in there with Greg to do a couple of demos before he bailed for House of Lords, we got a relationship with Ron and Sabu, and we decided to stay there and go back and go, let's go back there and just keep recording there. So
Wow.
that's where we ended up doing the record there with Ron,
Okay.
and that worked out really well. Um, he was really hard to work for,
Okay.
especially for a singer. I mean, I'm used to throwing vocals out there. I'm done in an hour, hour and a half. My song's done. Let's go next one, or see you tomorrow, right?
Right.
And he was like, he's one of those guys where I'll sing a line and he was just pulling a Mutt Lang on me. He was just like, okay, do it again. Okay, do it again. And I'm like, by the time I was done with it, I didn't even know what the words meant. You know what I mean? When you when you keep repeating something, you're like, what am I saying? So he was a slave driver, man. He was tough, but he got a good album out of us in the
Yeah.
end. We were really happy with it. We were happy with the sound of it. And we I don't remember, management had some ties to Night Ranger, and I don't remember what they were. And there was a Jack Blades tie-in, which got us the Damn Yankees Bad Company tour. They had already been out for a year and they were going out again. So we hopped onto that one in the summer of '91,
That's a
and we went out
massive
for
tour to get on.
it was, and it was like, we'd never really done a serious tour, and we got there. We were in somewhere in Colorado, in Denver, I think. First night, flew out there, and we played an arena, and it was I mean, there was probably, we were early show, like 7:30, so people are just filing in, but there were still, we were surprised how many people there when we went on. I think there had to be, 5 or 6 thousand people there, which to us was a ton.
Yeah.
And the sound was like nothing we'd ever heard before. The sound on the stage was like wow, and we went out there and just crushed.
Yeah.
So the next night, I don't remember where it was, but the sound was about half of that. They did the usual, turn those
Right.
guys down. But great tour. Everybody in both of those bands was so good to us. They
Yeah.
were, Bad Company was, Brian Howe was really good to us. When we went through Florida, we ended up going to his house and hanging out, and he was just super nice to us.
Mhm.
Um, Rick, I have a video somewhere, old VHS video of Rick walking out on soundcheck, and Mick Rouse hands him his guitar. He goes, "Here you go, mate," and he put it on Rick, and he was like, and he played it for about 30 seconds, and the tech came over and, give me that, get out of here.
Right.
Um, but just, Simon, nice, just all those guys. Bucket was on the second guitar. Um, Super cool guys, and the Damn Yankees guys, Jack and Tommy and Michael Cartellone. Ted was actually, Ted is such a totally different person. If you get to know him at all, I don't know if you ever met him, but if you ever talk to him anywhere where there's no people or cameras, it's
Right.
very different. It's like you and I talking right now. Just
Right.
very down to earth
Right.
dude. You know, Funny. And as soon as anybody started listening, he would obviously start with his. He's really very funny dude. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a really really fun tour. We were getting played. We were over 100 radio stations were playing. Been Your Fool.
You got a
We had the
video?
video out. Had the video out. Video went really well. And the whole thing was, and then it was pretty much squashed by the musical shift and the grunge rock and everything was coming through, and that's when by the time we were done with that tour towards the end of the summer in '91, it was all the grunge stuff was really taking over, and Atlantic had no intention of we had a 2 album plus deal, and they were like we turned in some demos, like shitty ones on purpose, just to make it here's our shitty demos, and they're like, okay, go away.
Um, I love that album. And I have hundreds of magazines in my house. Like all this shit is basically stuff out of magazines or whatever. There was like for ads for Road Hard Put Away Wet, you don't see ads for that in that magazine. So I mean, it felt like Atlantic, even though you got that tour, it just felt like they didn't push that album. And I get it at the time. But I mean, did you
Yeah.
feel that?
Oh, sure. It wasn't, hey, we weren't anywhere.
Right.
We popped up in places because management put us there, or we did.
Right.
Our management was tied into the Album Network, and the Album Network had put out their, every week, I think they put out their little magazine and their sampler and all that stuff. And Album Network was pushing us and helping us, but that was about it. And Tommy Nast was with the radio guy that, I don't know if you ever remember the Nasty News and all that back in the 90s. He used to do the radio spots for everybody.
Okay.
Tommy Nast was back there. He was pushing us, and our manager Lisa, and but Bruce Bird over there at Camel Management, and that was our tie-in with Freya and Kiss and some of the other bands with Casablanca. But Bruce was part of Album Network, and Bruce, Camel Management was part of we were managed by a subsidiary of Camel, and that's where those connections came in. And
Right.
but there was no, other than those people in the house that were really like a family pushing us.
Mm-hmm.
The label wasn't a big help. I mean, we got more help from just people and friends and
Yeah.
Jack Blades, having Hamer send me 3 basses to go out on tour with, and
Yeah.
he got me my Hamer 5 strings. I got one hanging on the wall over here. But that it was kind of like we were like an indie project with a label. you know
Your sound, like, I would never listen to the Tattoo Rodeo album and call, like, you were nothing like Poison and I love those bands, but you were nothing like that. You didn't look
no
anything like that. You didn't sound anything like that. When
right.
when grunge starts hitting, do you guys feel like, shit, we're compatible with this? I mean, or
Some
what
of
do
it, yeah. I
you
mean,
think when it
there
started
was some
happening?
stuff. There was some stuff that was coming out that was, I would say, compatible. I mean, there were some of the Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, you know, some of that stuff was, Stone Temple Pilots. Some of that stuff was coming out. It was guitar driven, and it wasn't completely off the field. It
Right,
was. I don't think we would, it wouldn't compare to it directly, but it
no,
wasn't, like you said, it wasn't that far off. And
right,
we went in to do the second. We went in and started writing to do the second record for Tattoo Rodeo, and we just said, we're just plowing ahead. We're just going to do what we do. We're not going to turn into that. We don't do that.
right.
And off the second record, probably the closest thing I could even come close to any of that stuff I just said was maybe the song Blackened. But other than that, everything else was pretty much guitar driven,
I mean,
MEB3 and piano.
I just felt like you guys were somewhere in between the Black Crows and grunge. I mean, like you
Yeah,
were you shouldn't have been a band that would have been like, oh, well, they're part of the 80s rock scene, you know? To and that's what I'm not, like you sounded like grunge, but I just
right.
it felt like it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that you should have been able to blow up just as those bands were blowing up at the same time. Anyway,
Yeah, well, and then and look, when we did the second Tattoo Rodeo record, and the song Sure Enough came out, some people thought it was the Black Crowes
right,
on the off the second record, but
right,
um, we were kind of used to that stuff because look, when we were doing the White Sister thing in the '80s, we got thrown in with bands all the time that were really heavy, all
sure,
the time,
okay,
and it was like, here we go again, But by the time we were done, we would win people over because it wasn't. We were playing, we would play with Keel, and we would play with Armored Saint, and it was like we were playing with really hard, much harder acts, but we
yeah,
just did our thing, and it worked. And I feel like Tattoo Rodeo was a little bit of the same way. We just did our thing, and it was either going to work or it's not, but we weren't really going to twist it and change it to turn into that. So after in '95 when we did the second album, um, Skin and Bones, that was also a self-financed
okay,
uh, album that we went in and did the Mausoleum. We got the
yep,
Mausoleum
the
contract and
Mausoleum,
went and added a couple songs, and then that was a full. So I think it was only 7 or 8 before Mausoleum got it because
yep.
there's an indie one we had out, made up a fake record label, and put it out, just sold it out of the trunk.
Because on
Uh,
Mausoleum, it comes out as Skin, right? And at
yeah,
first it was Skin and Bones, and
that's right, very good. Yep,
yep,
exactly. Yeah.
okay,
So we did that with Arthur Payson was producing that with us.
yep.
And I don't remember how we got Rick got him in somehow. And I don't really remember what the connection was there with Payson, but he was great to work with. Really, really sweet man. Um, Obviously had a nice, discography and
Yeah.
background. And we went in the studio. We worked really fast with him. Just boom, boom, boom.
And obviously Skin doesn't sound like, but I've always said like the mid 90s were such a confusing time for music. I
Yeah,
mean, as,
yeah.
as a fan, I'm sure for you too, like what was it like making an album at that time? Is there any part of you that's like, do we change our sound? Or are you like, no, this is what we do?
No, we were pretty much this is what we do. We just went in and did our thing and
Sure.
played. We just rewrote and did our songs. We weren't going to twist in the wind and play and change our sound to fit with what was going on. We just stayed where we're doing. I mean, we were. It's funny because we were in the studio. We were in a rehearsal studio working up songs to go record, and we had we were in the small room working up tunes. Kiss was in the medium room, and this is in Burbank, and Motley Crue was in the big room.
Okay.
And I'll never forget. I went walking. We had to park down the street because Motley took the whole fucking parking lot. And that's just with Karabi, right? This is like '94.
Yeah.
So we were come walking down the street, and the sidewalks shaking, like literally shaking, like construction's going on, and they were blasting through helter skelter. So Rick and I go walking into the rehearsal place, and like you walk down this hall, and they're over here on the left, just shaking the whole fucking neighborhood. And Gene, we were talking to Gene, and he remembered us from the White Sister days, and we were talking to him. We were talking to him in the hallway, the lobby, and I just looked at him. I go, "What the hell?" And he goes, and he took a drink of his water, and he goes, "They just haven't grown up yet." I said, "Is that it?" And he goes, "Come here." He takes Rick and I into their studio, and there was nobody there. It was just Gene for some reason, and a couple of texts. He takes us in, and he goes, "See," and there's like one Ampeg for him. There was a couple of Marshall half stacks, a small drum set, and that was it. And he goes, "They will learn after years of doing that, when they can't even hear what they're doing anymore or hear each other talk, they will learn that this is how you do it."
Right.
Gene's another guy that when you get him, I've only talked to him 2 or 3 times, but when you talk to him with nobody around,
Sure.
it's just like this.
Sure.
Just totally, totally, totally normal guy. I remember it was we were at an opening show for House of Lords, actually, in Hollywood, at the Palace. We're talking to him afterward, talking to him about going and doing another record, and I had my hair short when I had my hair. I had hair short at the time, and he looked at me and he goes, "Well, if you're going to do another record like that, you're going to have to grow your hair out unless you're going to call yourself Mr. Mister."
Right.
Great advice, Gene. Thanks, man. Is that all you got for me today? Anyway,
Uh,
but yeah, the music was changing. Motley was doing, music was twisting. Motley was in there with Karabi. And we just felt, we were like, we're not going to change. We're just going to do, we're going to record these songs and just put our album out, and that obviously didn't go anywhere. We only did a handful of shows after that. And then after that album, after the second Tattoo Rodeo album, we kind of put everything away for a while. We just all went back to work and our day jobs, and Rick and I would write a little bit, and we're just trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and kept talking about doing a reunion. And then we finally did a Tattoo Rodeo reunion in 2006. That's how long it took. So it took like 10 years. And we went and played a little tiny club in Hollywood on Melrose called The Gig. It's not there anymore. Crammed like 300 people in there. Michael didn't want to do the show, so we had a buddy of ours come and play.
okay.
And we invited Gary from White Sister to come and do Love Don't Make It Right off the White Sister record. He didn't want to.
Okay.
So I go, okay, that's cool. So we did it without him. Went over really well. We had a great time. And then we started talking, well, maybe we should, and we started getting contacted by the Firefest festival people to come and maybe do Firefest. We're like, I don't know. We got to try to get these guys in the same room, And then we lost Rich in 2006. We lost Rich.
Yeah.
Shortly after we lost Rich, Gary and Rick and I just looked at each other and said, we're being stupid. We're getting older. Rich, we just lost Rich. We need to go do these things. If we can do them, we need to go try to do them. Right.
Yeah.
So
what happened to Rich? I'm sorry, but what happened to Rich?
Rich was battling some, he was, Rich smoked a lot of weed, right? All the time.
Sure.
And he sort of cold turkey quit and just said, I don't want to do it anymore. And he quit smoking weed. Well, it turns out he was masking some depression issues
Okay.
with the weed. He stopped smoking the weed, and all of a sudden, some other stuff came to the surface. So he started taking medication for that, and then he started drinking really heavily, and then he was gone.
Oh,
There are different versions of how or why he passed,
okay.
and I chose personally to not know. I had some friends that this all happened in Burbank, and I had buddies in the police department I'd gone to school with, and somebody approached me and said, "Do you want to know what it says on the report?" I said, "No, I don't really care. I don't want to know. I know he was having trouble. I know there was pills next to his bed for his depression. I know there was a lot of alcohol, and if there was anything else, I don't care, and I don't want to know."
Right.
So that was my answer.
Yep.
So we lost him and decided to we should do. We had an offer again to go do the Firefest festival in Nottingham, England,
Yep.
as White Sister.
Hmm.
We hadn't played those songs for what, 20 years or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So we got in a room and started rehearsing I brought in Jason Montgomery, a drummer of mine. I know since he was a kid. He used to come into my room and listen. He'd play Rush and show me how good he was getting. And he was like 13 or 14, and he was getting really good.
Yeah.
So I guess he was in his mid 20s or so when we took him with us to England. But we rehearsed and put a White Sister set together and went over there and had just a great time.
Yeah.
Great people, all the festival people there, fantastic.
Yeah.
Kieran and his gang over there, they're all just were great people. Met a lot of, saw the FM guys there. I hadn't seen them since what, 87. And that festival kind of rekindled a little bit in all of us,
Yep.
because we all dug in with, I dug in with my family and my day job, and everybody dug in with their jobs and everything. And it was kind of a spark. And we were like, man, there's probably something here. So Rick and I started writing a little bit. This was in 2008, by the way, and we
Yep.
got invited to go back the next year. They always invite somebody back, and we went back, and I think had an even better show. It was fantastic, and we got some offers to do an album,
Okay.
and we thought about it a little bit and just said, it's not going to be the same. It's if we sat down and write songs like that, I felt Rick agreed with me, and I think Gary did too. It's not going to be White Sister. We are so different. We were kids. We're all a lot older now. Why don't we just leave those albums alone? So many people are considering that first record a classic. Like, why go back to that well?
Yep.
So we turned down a decent little deal and said no. And then I kept writing. Rick and I were working on a couple songs, and I kept writing. And then, again, a few years go by, and then he got sick.
Mm-hmm.
Rick got sick, and then we lost him. So that's how I morphed into my solo record in 2015.
It was cancer, right?
Yeah. Yep. He had an aggressive form of cancer, and kind of kept it quiet. He didn't want a lot of people to know.
Yeah.
And I kept showing up to his house with my phone and playing him these songs I was working on. I'd sit on the couch and go, "Listen to this. I need you to get your ass up, play guitar on this thing." He had a little studio in the back behind the garage.
Yeah.
I said, "Come on, man, we got to." He's like, "Yeah, I like that one. I like that one." And then took a quick turn. At the end there, it was really quick. So
Yeah.
lost him, and then that was that. And I get people all the time asking me, why don't you? I get messages all the time like, let's put a band together and come out here and play and do White Sister. I'm like, no, it's not. Look, Rick and I and Gary were basically the heart of White Sister,
Yeah.
and Rick and I and Michael were Tattoo Rodeo.
Yep.
And right now anyway, in this stage of my life, I have no intention of going out there and, I was never one of those guys that just played live, every weekend because I just needed it. I mean, I've never been that guy.
Yeah.
And I love writing and I love recording, but I'm not. I got an offer to play another festival next year, and they said, "Come out and do your songs and a couple from your other bands." And I'm like, maybe. I think maybe came out of my mouth. It wasn't no, but
Right.
I haven't played live since that 2009 White Sister reunion at Firefest.
Okay.
So would it be fun? Probably, but I'm such a perfectionist. I'm a pain in the ass to work with because I want everything to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
Those shows sounded great in '08 and '09 at Firefest because, Rick and I and Gary just were maniacal about, listen, it's got to sound. We had two keyboard players. We brought another, just because when Gary was running around, we wanted keyboards still.
Yeah.
So, that's how crazy we were.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I don't know that I would rather go out in front of, a bunch of people and do an acoustic thing with a couple of people than a full-on show that has to be produced and sound a certain way,
Right.
with natural instruments and natural vocals, because we never went for any of that. Well, the augmented vocals and tracks and things weren't super relevant when we were doing those shows. But if you look at online forums now, that's a lot of discussion about auto tune, backing tracks, who's playing what. The whole
Right.
There's a whole nother journey, one that popped up there today, because apparently there's auto tune on Ronell's mic when he's talking, and it was like, my thing is like, it's not my thing. I don't think musicians should be doing that, really. But if they're gonna sell 20,000 tickets to go play, and people don't give a shit, then great.
Yeah.
Who cares? You know what I mean?
Right.
I personally don't like it, and I wouldn't do it. But I don't, I'm not going to go out and like protest about it. But
Sure.
I think that the bands that are out there playing live and actually, kicking it live and from the heart, I think that comes across more than augmented fake stuff to me.
Sure. You see, but you see, and I'm right with you. But then I see some of these guys go out and struggle, and I'm like, well, I mean, a lot of people say, well, then quit. But then I'm also like, well, I get how some of them probably can't quit. They probably don't
Look
have
at I'm sure you saw today the whole Bon Jovi thing that's out there that they released, right?
Yeah.
So, my take on that is, and I think a couple of forums I jumped on today to see what people were saying, but I think most people are missing the point of this. John is a musician.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically his life.
Yeah.
It's like me telling you, you know what? I want you to take all that stuff in your room behind you, put it all in a box, and I want you to go do and play golf. And I don't want you to do any of that anymore.
Yep. You're exactly
It doesn't
right.
work that way, because it's part of you and it's in you, and you need that.
Yep.
The fact that John Bon Jovi is rich has nothing to do with it.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with it. And this might be easier coming from a musician or an artist, but it's in him, and he doesn't know how to do anything. He doesn't want to do anything else. I don't know if there's anybody telling him, dude, this isn't sounding great. It's a little rough. I don't know if you should do this. How are you going to do Madison Square Garden for, what is it, 4 nights they booked? Are they going to augment? Are they going to, I don't know. Yeah. I can guarantee you people are going to be there. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether they understand what's happening or not. So I feel bad for him in a way, more of a personal way, that this is like I spoke of earlier about, does the music still come to you? I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? That's, I still breathe. What are you talking about?
Of course.
That's part of their soul, right? And they can't walk away from it. And the same thing with Dawkins and Coverdale and all these guys that,
yep,
maybe should have walked away a little earlier, but I don't think they can. It's just in their,
yep,
it's in their bloodstream.
Yep.
So go to the show. All I got to say about that is, look, man, if you want to go see it and have a fucking great time and enjoy yourself. I don't want to, but
yes,
go. You know what? Do I want to go see Foreigner right now with not one original member in the band? No. No, thank you. I saw him with Lou Gramm. I saw him a couple times. I didn't see him with Kelly, although he's fantastic.
Yeah.
If you want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, have a great time. And they're going to sell tickets, and that's fine. I don't want to do it, but I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, go have a good time. I'll talk to you like tomorrow. But I don't want to do it. But I think they don't understand that it's so ingrained.
I'm right with you, and I would never tell, well, just quit. But there are acts that I won't go see now because I don't want to see the way they are performing. But if people do, like you said, go have a good time.
Yeah, knock yourself out. Somebody when years ago, somebody was talking about, I think when they got Arnell and Journey, they said, if Perry would just come back, They can knock the songs down like a step or two,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no. So, probably one of my favorite singers. He's definitely my top five. I don't want to see that. I don't. I mean, you go ahead. I don't want to be. I don't want that. No, thank you.
Yep.
I mean, Perry, John Waite, Paul Rogers. All these guys are like. I mean, Tyler. I mean, I saw John Waite a few years ago. He still sounds amazing. I don't know how he's doing that. I really don't. But these are people that I've kind of leaned on for vocal styles and things and tried to make something of my own out of it. But I don't necessarily want to see them now do something that's way out of pocket. I don't. Maybe it's like don't meet your heroes thing, but I don't want to hear my hero either do that.
One thing, or at least like with the Tattoo Rodeo, and maybe, but like you weren't trying to do that. Maybe you did it on White Sister, but the high pitched falsetto screaming, like some like Don Dokken, like a lot of that stuff was really high back then. I mean, to try to do
Yeah.
that now when you're
Yeah.
70.
Yeah, I know. And when we were in rehearsals doing that, the White Sister rehearsals for that festival for Firefest, I mean, Gary looking at us and going, why were we singing so high?
Yeah.
Did somebody make us do that? Like, why were we doing that? It's like, I don't know. That's just the way it came out. Sucks now, but
Right. Right. That's where
there's some stuff on my new record that's I'm in here in my room here singing and I'm like, holy crap. I had to work up. I did a couple of months before I started the vocals for this record, I started doing a bunch of covers. I put a couple of them on YouTube, but I started covering songs and just be recording in here and try to get my voice up to some level of,
yep.
Let's get it somewhere where it'll do something. And
Yeah.
it's very different at 62 than it was at 42. That's for sure.
We kind of talked about the I solo album, and I
Yeah.
not to try to get all personal, but there's a song for Rick on that album. It's called "So Good to See You," right?
Yes.
Like
that song came out of wrote that for Rick. After he passed, I kept having these dreams, and they were all good, and they were really kind of cool. I would have these dreams that we were like back in the White Sister days, like loading up a van and going down, like to the Troubadour somewhere and setting up, and every time and in every dream we'd be either loading the van or setting things up in the club, and if I mentioned to anybody that Rick was there, like I go, do you see him too? Do you, it's like a movie, right?
Yeah.
If in the dream I was to say, do you see him? He would disappear.
Yeah.
So I had to pretend like everybody could see him in the dream.
Yeah.
So that's where the "So Good to See You" came from. I wrote the song about him. My uncle who taught me how to play the bass that I referred to earlier, Ron Camacho, played bass on that.
Okay.
I flew up to Oregon where he lives, and I brought a little multi-track with me, and I had him play for me, and he did a beautiful track on that. But I wrote the song, recorded it, and as soon as I was done recording it, the dream stopped.
Wow.
Mind blow. So I had 2.5 years or so of these dreams, and they were I kind of looked forward to them. They were kind of fun, right? And then they stopped after I wrote it. They were done. It was like that had to happen to let that go. But yeah, that was for Rick for sure. He's still around. He had an infectious laugh. He had just a personality. You couldn't be in a bad mood behind. He's one of those guys that when he came into the room, you couldn't be sad and be all mopey. And it was just he was that guy. So he's missed, and we're reminded of his antics daily.
I didn't know about the I solo album until we started chatting and we were going to do this interview. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go listen to it. And I wouldn't just say it, but I was like, first of all, it sounds like it would fit in with what you were doing with White Sister. I mean, it's very AOR. Like if you like Journey and Toto and all that stuff, I'm like, that would fit right in. Heard it on the radio. Holy shit. I love that song.
Thank you. Heard it on the radio, I think still needs to be a Cheap Trick song.
Right?
If anybody sees this interview, Somebody
Right?
play them that song. I'm telling you, I could hear Robin singing it. I mean, it's a Cheap Trick song. I
Yes.
didn't write it that way. It just came out that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And the song I itself is just about just wanted to live, live my life and be, it's for anybody that just a sort of an anthem to just want to just let me live. Yeah, just let me live, man.
right.
Um, Unbroken is kind of about, um, getting put in the spotlight and then having the spotlight taken away. And then what kind of a person are you when there's no spotlight? And that's what Unbroken is about.
I'll
Bright lights cast shadows. Someone I know, someone I used to know. So like, what happens when all that's gone? And that was kind of writing that about myself, really. But yeah, I mean, that was a fun. I had a good time recording it. I worked really well with Sabu, um, and I'm glad you like it, man. Thank you.
oh, that's so
The
it
song, the song "Home." I liked the song "Home" so much. I did an acoustic version at the end of the
okay.
album.
Okay.
And there's a line in the song about, "I believe that I will always be the only one who holds the lock and keeps the fragile key." And I have on my shoulder right here I have a big lock tattoo with three locks on it, three keyholes that are from my three kids, and then I have the text written underneath it right here. So that song "Home" meant a lot to me.
Um, I have a tattoo that says Unbroken. I wish I could tell you it was about that song, but
Let's just say it is.
yeah, it's about that song.
It is now.
Is that album on CD? Because I'm gonna buy it if it is. I
Geez,
album?
it's probably still on. I did that by myself. Where is that album now? It's on CD Baby, I think, still, unless they send them all back to me. I don't remember.
Okay,
It might be on Amazon. Talk to me after.
sure.
I
Um, okay, and
got a
then
box of them somewhere.
sure. So you do that the 12 the what was it
1206.
1206 project,
Yeah.
and are you doing anything more with Stan Cody for that you did 1206, or was that just kind of a
No,
one?
we did the one off, and then right when we were finishing it, I moved up here, and then he's a busy dude. He's got he works at Fender. He does a lot of R&D work at Fender,
Okay.
and he just popped up. He's going to pop up on an album here by Giovanna. Um, I think they have a new project. I think it's called Misfit Toys, and he's playing some guitar on that. And there's some big ticket name guys on that.
Yeah.
Stan's very humble guy that wouldn't even say he belongs in the room with those people. But he's pretty amazing guitar player. There's if you can check out 1206. It's on iTunes and everything else. But if you want to hear Stan's wizardry, there's a song called Winter that goes into I Know.
Okay.
And Winter is something he wrote after we finished I Know. I Know was a piano piece that he had written, and I put lyrics and melodies to it.
Okay.
It very much sounds like an old Toto song. It sounds like it came off the second Toto record with Bobby singing. It's one of those kind of, Toto would do those one-off songs. It sounds like it came out of a movie.
Yeah.
That's very much what I Know sounds like.
Okay.
And I had Stan write a little prelude to it for like a 2-minute prelude to it, and his guitar work is ridiculous. So go check it out.
Okay.
And now we're on to my new album.
Crazy is this life.
Oh man, isn't it? Yeah, the songs on this album are, "Crazy is This Life" is one of the songs on it, and it's about just wanting to live my life and not run out of time and make sure I'm doing the right things. And I think you in your life can definitely connect to it. And you make a lot of moves and you do a lot of things for yourself and your family. And you sit there sometimes and stare at the ceiling at night and go, am I doing the right thing right now? Or am I overthinking it? Probably. I overthink the shit out of everything. So yes, I am overthinking it.
Yep.
And so Crazy is This Life. It just came to me one day, and we decided to call the album that. Paul thought it was a good idea to name the album that. And then the split photo on the album cover is something that Steve Newman, who played all the guitars and engineered this thing. He's an amazing graphic artist, and he came up with the idea to split the old photo of me that I had and the
I
new one
love
and put
it.
them together.
I love it.
So
So you'll see that. I'll have that in the video. It'll probably be on the YouTube thumbnail anyway.
yeah, so it's
Great.
20-year-old me and not 20-year-old me on the
Right.
cover.
Right.
But there's some, there's a couple of very 80s song on there. I don't know if you're familiar with Angeline, the one that drives the pink Cadillac around Hollywood.
No.
She's like this. She's on billboards and she's all over the place in Hollywood in the 80s,
Sure.
90s, and even now.
Sure.
And I think there's even a movie about her, actually.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, she's like a pop icon, pink Cadillac.
Yeah.
So we had a song we started years ago, and we never did anything, so I finished it and put it together. So Angeline is very. That sounds like White Sister could have been in the room with me doing that song. That's on there, and there's a couple other sort of 80s driven things, but there's some stuff on there I'm really proud of. Crazy is This Life, for one, is kind of out there. The verses are very different. There's like no guitars on the verses, and it's just like a click pattern going by, like a heartbeat. And
Yeah.
very, very proud of how that song kind of fleshed out. It's different, very, very different. I wrote a song, kind of a last minute entry for the record, after losing a couple of family members in the last year and a friend, Rick's little brother. We lost him shortly after that. And I was just outside here on my property, riding the riding mower around, mowing the acre of grass that makes me crazy out here. Um, that's therapy too. I shouldn't say that. If
Sure.
anybody lives in the country watching this, you get on the riding mower. I don't even put music on. I just go out there and I just like tune out for
Right.
like an hour. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, this song came to me and I'm like, I don't want to be sad about the people that we're losing in our lives. They're loved them. They were good people, and I want to be thinking about the happy things and what the positive side of it was. So it came to me. The title came to me. We're the lucky ones because we got to know them.
Yeah.
So I wrote a last minute entry. We put it on there, and it's called "We Are the Lucky Ones," and it's largely a demo that Steve cleaned up for me, and I played some really bad acoustic guitar on it, and he cleaned it up, and it's basically just that. It's about just we don't need to, but I think it's healthier to. You're going to have your mourning period, of course, but it's to be happy about how lucky we really are to have had these people in our lives. Very different song. It's probably more of a Tattoo Rodeo song than anything of all the other ones, but I think there's a nice mix of different genres flying around this record. I think everyone will be a little surprised, hopefully happy, but
Um,
I'm happy, so I hope they are.
when you talk about the songs, and then I've heard the snippet of the single "Bring Back Yesterday."
Yeah.
Like I hear a lot of like, you know, a lot of sentimental thoughts and kind of like, thinking. I mean, we're talking about some of your best friends that have passed on, and I just hear a lot of like reflection of somebody who has gotten older and is kind of analyzing their life. Is that maybe I'm way off there, but
Well, wait till you see the video.
okay.
The video has some old shots of White Sister, Tattoo Rodeo stage shots that I threw into AI and animated them. So
Oh,
there's some shots of like 20-year-old me, just old photos. I'm all of a sudden now I'm moving around down at the Troubadour.
uh,
Not a lot, but I snuck a few of them in there, and
yep.
um, my wife saw it when she's like, "Wow," she's just blown away. Um, but that's exactly it, and the video goes right along with it. So in the video, I'm telling you, actually the video will be released a week from tomorrow. It'll be
Okay.
out on Halloween.
Okay.
The video will be out, and I'll make sure you see that. And it's definitely a reflective look on the past and growing up in Hollywood. A lot of old photos that worked their way up to now. Um, no budget for anything like that, so I just did it in iMovie.
Yep.
Threw it in there and went, all right, this works. My iPhone does a pretty good video. Let's go.
I get you.
There's
I
a there's a shot at the end of me walking down the street, and it's I live in the country, so it's a road,
Yeah.
and it's just out there, and it looks like it was pro shot, but no, it's just it's a decent lens on an iPhone now. So, but yeah, it is definitely reflective. The song is about uh, the whole thing, growing up in Hollywood, sharing the stage with these guys. Um, one of the lines is we shared the stage with certain millionaires, and they didn't even know that they were there. Referring to the guys in Rat and Motley, and uh, but there's a couple of shots of like I found some old photos that my wife had of shots of the marquee of the whiskey and ticket stubs from some shows, and they kind of flash up on the screen and showing us playing with different people. But Yeah, it's a trip down memory lane, and it's focused on me, but I think people would totally get it.
Yeah.
That were, especially if anybody grew up around that genre, they're going to totally get it.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it. And I'll just my dad is 83. He's in a home. He is not going to be around much longer. And his quality of life is gone. It's just really sad. And so like hearing, you know, talking about the stuff that we're talking about and bring back yesterday. And
Right?
I've been doing some AI with some old pictures of him and getting him moving around. And so anyway,
Yeah,
so I'm
it's a
really
trip.
excited to see it.
Yeah, you get it. You already get it. You haven't heard it yet, and you already get it. That's for sure. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be 63. I got 4 grandkids now. I've been married for 40 years. I wonder what's, in the next, I kind of live my life in 3 year clumps,
Yeah.
and looking at what the next three is, I don't know. Who knows? But I know that the music still comes to me,
Mhm.
and I feel like a lot of times, like with that song, "The Lucky Ones," I feel like I'm a vehicle. I have to put it down. I come in here and I'll walk up to the piano and set my phone down and put it on video mode just to record audio.
Yeah.
And I'll just bang out a little piece and start singing into it and go, let's get to that later when you're done mowing the yard, Baldy.
So what's the goal with the album? I mean, obviously, like it seems like you're not gonna get a band together and go out and play a bunch of shows. You just
No,
want to get this music out.
yeah, I mean, it's just, if you like music and you're, somebody like you who's collecting CDs and loves the music, I mean, music is backwards now, right? Back in the day, it was you recorded an album and then you toured to support the album,
Yep.
right? Now it's kind of the other way around.
Yep.
You you tour to make some money
Yeah.
because you did an album, but nobody really, the album's free now for the
Yeah.
most part. So
Right.
you're gonna tour and sell tickets and merch, and that's how you're making money. So it's kind of backwards now. So I don't have any intention to put a band together and do all that. It's just not my thing.
Right.
My hope with this music is just that it connects.
Yeah.
Some of it, at least, will connect with people, and they'll get it and they'll dig it and they'll play it, and it is what it is. I mean, if I was really fortunate, it would something with a piece of something I did would end up in TV or film, and I could actually, finance doing another one.
Right.
But for an artist like me, that's really all it is. I just do it because I love it, and luckily, I have the support with Paul Mitch Rudland at AOR Boulevard, and he's just letting me free reign and do it. He's like, just send me when you're done. He just like, I'm gonna love it. So I send it to him. He trusts me. Uh, and again, working with Steve Newman, he's just given me full trust. And now it's in his lap now. He's got all the song, he's got all the files and the artwork and everything. So he's working on getting that out. But working with somebody like that believes in you and just gives you the space to do what you do was really, I'm really blessed to have that right now, especially at this point in my life. I mean, I don't think a lot of artists have that luxury.
Right. Well, I told you even before I hit record, I said I was I was a huge Tattoo Rodeo fan. I wasn't all that familiar with White Sisters, so I've been listening to and and I was like, son of a bitch, like why was this not on more people's radar?
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And then I listened to the I album. And I've been telling people, I'm like, you got to go listen to this Dennis Churchill Dries stuff because if you and I, it's not. I don't think it's bad to say like if you like music from the '80s, you will like this. But it's just a grown up. The lyrics are grown up, and I've always said like I never needed the music to change it. Like I still love that music, but like I
Yeah.
don't need lyrics about drinking and partying and all that stuff. Like I want lyrics that I can relate to
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah. It's a little different now. Yeah.
I feel like that's what you're doing. So I'm super excited for
I'm
this.
excited that you get it, man. That's exactly where I'm at. The music's just in me and it's going to come out that way. But yeah, the lyrics are a little more grown up, but the music will still make you tap the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm fortunate enough to be in two bands that should have gone somewhere.
Do you
I
have
did
do
it
you have
twice.
do you have any regrets? I mean, do you ever look back and go, shit, I wish I would have done this? or where are you at with
No,
your?
I think I'm fine with all of it. We did, we did what we did, and we did the best we could. And I don't think there's anything that we should have done that we didn't do. We just, we didn't get a lot of support from some of the label people that we had, but that's nothing that we could have done anything about.
Totally.
I think we did everything we could do, and it is what it is. I mean, the fact that that first White Sister record is kind of a cult record now, and the people are. I feel like in the last 10 or 15 years, people are really getting more into the Tattoo Rodeo stuff now. Um, Probably comes with age or something, but I don't know. But I'm just happy that I was a part of something, and hopefully with my solo albums that there's something that I can leave a little mark when I'm gone. There'll be something there that they'll go, yeah, that was cool.
Well, I will be spreading the word. I'll be playing the new single on Hair Metal
Yep.
Mansion and promoting it everywhere I can on my socials. So I'm super
Thank you, man.
excited about
Appreciate
it.
that.
And you have been just a great conversation. Uh,
Ah,
it didn't even feel like I was doing an interview, really. It was just kind of like just shooting the shit with somebody. So
well, listen, man, I love your channel. I know a lot of the boards are talking about your personal uprising with your channel, the hair metal guru, and your interviews. You got some great interviews out there. I love the JSS one, the Jafria one, of course, the Isley one is kind of close to my heart. But the Stevie one you just did, I mean, I'm following you now as I'm paying attention. But congrats to you as well for your growth on what you're doing. And I think that in the same way that I want to thank AOR Boulevard for letting me do what I'm doing and keeping that music alive. I mean, you're doing something in parallel there. You're doing these interviews and talking to bands and people, and like me that happen to have a past to talk about, but also something new.
yeah,
And then it's awesome, and I appreciate that, man. Thank you for doing it.
yeah, absolutely. I know you're on X. I know you're on Facebook. Do you do Instagram?
I do Instagram. Couldn't tell you what I am on there, but I'm on there.
Oh,
If you
that's
Google me, I'll show up.
I will. And shit, I think I'm following you on Instagram. I suck at Instagram. I'll be
What
honest.
am I? What am I on here? I don't know. Oh, DC Dries.
Okay. Okay. I will put those. I'll put all. And is there any other? Is there anything else like that? Because I will link all of
That's
that
it.
in the description so people can follow you and
Yeah,
keep
no,
up.
that's great. I appreciate any of that, man. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. That'll work. Yeah, and AOR Boulevard Records. They'll if you follow them too, and all the information for buying the CD will be there too.
I will. That will be down there too. Is
Yeah,
there anything that I missed? Is there anything you're like, shit? I wish you would have. I could have told people about this.
I don't think so, man. I feel like I just went through a therapy session. I got to go. I might go have a beer.
Hey, yeah. Good for you. Hey, man. I might go. I don't know, I'm gonna rub Charlie's belly or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right, brother.
Dennis Churchill Dries. I'm such a fan. I'm starting to get into the White Sister. I love Tattoo Rodeo. I'm so excited to hear about the new album, Crazy Is This Life. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.